He kōna ipurangi tēnei nā te reo irirangi o Aotearoa.
Te hewa mauri ora ki te whaiau, ki te taiau, ki te marama. Ko Māpuna tēnei mihi atua nei wai o hatu nei. Raro maira. Welcome back to the Māpuna podcast. And this week, wow. One of the greatest rugby players in history. And I reckon she's possibly the greatest rugby player New Zealand has ever had. Portia Woodman-Wickliffe. 250 tries. No. Over 250 tries. And you can remember some of them, I'm sure you would have seen social media, YouTube clips. It's all there for you to recall. She is one of our greatest athletes. Almost made the Silver Ferns as a netballer and then went on to Olympic glory. But it wasn't easy. Of course, you'll remember the 2016 Rio Games, and she blames herself for the failure in Rio in 2016. But then look at what happened after that. Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games, Rugby 15s, World Cup 2022. Oh my gosh, we can all remember that as well. Portia Woodman-Wickliffe. She is our guest, and we follow her haerenga from growing up in Kaikohe, the hub of the north, and then went on, of course, to come to Auckland and eventually become one of the greatest rugby players in the world. And her career in rugby will continue. She will be going to the land of the rising sun in Japan in a month's time. So, Portia Woodman-Wickliffe, she is the guest on Māpuna this week at the iwi whakarongomaira. Portia Woodman-Wickliffe joins me now. Portia, tēnā koe.
Morena e te rangatira, tēnā koe.
When you hear me, being a bit loquacious in the introduction like that, how does that sit with you?
Oh, it makes me feel a bit uneasy, I think whenever anyone brings up highlights packages or highlights descriptions, it makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but also a bit of proud. Like you say, I'm proud to be Ngāpuhi, I'm proud to be from Kaikohe, and to know that I represent not just myself, but my whānau from up there. I'm extremely proud of that. So it's not just me with those highlights and packages and all of that, it's all my whānau that come with me.
You said Kaikohe. I thought the whānau was from Ngāwha.
He ori tēnei. So Dad's whānau is from Ngāwha, Mum's whānau is from Tahiki Road on the other side of Kaikohe. Somehow they managed to not be related, which is perfect for us. So yes, Kaikohe is the middle ground, but Kaikohe, Ngāwha, Tahiki Road, it's all home.
I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember coming to work with us at Whakaata Māori once?
Oh, yeah. Yep, definitely. That was a highlight of my career.
No, it wasn't.
Working times.
Gold medals, and that's the highlight of your career.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I think just being able to rub shoulders, and because I went through Māori unit throughout all of my schooling, but to Whakaata Māori and be amongst all you superstars, it was a highlight for me. And to be, on code and all sorts of different other programs, rolling the teleprompter. I tell a lot of people that was my role. And it's a highlight for me, definitely.
Well, put it this way, we don't allow ourselves to forget it either. We mention it in dispatches, just so you know. It's still part of our folklore, all right? And the other thing I just wanted to recall, if you don't mind, is back in the day, I used to run up Mount Eden. And I remember a couple of days, you and your father would run up there. Well, the phrase that comes to mind is I would eat your fella's dust, because you kind of sprint past me as I would labour up the hill, alternating between a fast walk and a jog, I think is how best to categorise it. But you were young then and used to train hard out. What were you training for? This would have been when you were 40. Was that netball, or what were you training for at that age?
I think it would have been a combination of netball and athletics.
Okay.
Anytime Dad said we had to run, we were running, and it was either on the road, on the track, or uphill. So it was just whatever Dad told me to do. Wow.
What was it like growing up with a father that, particularly in Ngāpuhi? I mean, if you think of, who have we got? No Sherrington, the horse they used to call him, J.B. Smith, the great centre from Kaikohe, as you know, and then the Woodman whānau. I mean, what was it like growing up with that kind of weight of expectation, carrying that whānau name, I guess?
I think I was lucky enough that when I came around, Dad had finished his professional game of rugby, and he was just playing golden oldies by the time I came around. So all I heard was just the stories. It was like, oh, when I played against your dad, or I remember seeing your dad. So for me, it's just the stories that I get from it. And no matter where I am in the world, quite literally anywhere in the world, I'll get the question, which one's your father, Kawhino or Fred? Or I know your dad from under 16s Bay of Islands. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how is this? This is so crazy. And mum and dad used to talk about how, dad's world famous in Kaikohe and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, no, you literally are. Like anywhere in the world, I can get someone to come and say, oh, which Woodman are you related to? And it's really awesome. And I'm really grateful for it because he knew what he wanted. He wanted to become an All Black. He achieved it, having come from such a small town. He was a father at a young age, married at a young age, but he was determined. And despite my mum maybe not liking it as much, purely because it took him away from her and the babies, my brother, but he achieved his dreams. And for me, that's all I knew was my dad did it. My dad can do it, I can do it. So it was a big inspiration for me.
Do you mind if we talk about mum? Because I don't know a lot about mum. Okay.
Yeah.
You said Tāhika Road. For the uninitiated, they call that the pathway to paradise. Where's mum? What whānau is mum?
So mum's a Dalton.
Oh,
Dalton
yes, of
Clark.
course. Yes, no, I did know that. Sorry. Yep.
No, so there we've got the farm there down on Tāhika Road.
Yep.
Mum was one of 11 children, loved netball, absolutely loved netball. So she was my inspiration in netball, and she taught me to be the player that I was. For everyone else, they wanted to do like space marking on defense, whereas I was a man-on-man defense, and that was mum. So to a T, stopped my player from getting the ball. So mum was a big inspiration for me with my netball. I was really close with netball, obviously. Like I made it right through to the Silver Ferns accelerant squad and development and all of that, but rugby came knocking, and I really couldn't give up that opportunity. So mum was a big inspiration for my netball career.
You grew up in Kaikohe. When did the whānau come down here? To Tamaki, I mean.
So we moved to Auckland when I was about 7. So what's that, 98?
Oh, yeah.
Or 97.
Yeah.
Purely for Dad, so he could finish his teaching degree. My memories of moving to Auckland was we're only going there for a year, and then we're going to move back to Kaikohe, which was perfect because it was home, right? My nannies were just down the road, the farm was there, and all my cousins. And then we stayed there, and I was like, I don't like this. I want to go back up home. But I understand the opportunities for mum and dad and us as kids as well, my younger brother and I. So I get it, but Kaikohe is always home. Yep.
Were you always going to be an athlete, or was there something else that was burning within that you wanted to do or thought about doing, or was it just a case of, you're blessed with some physical attributes and abilities that was always going to be the pathway?
I think from a young age, I always loved sports, and I was always mates with the boys, and whatever the boys were doing, I was playing the sports. If they were playing water polo, I was joining them. If they were doing rugby, I was joining them. If they were playing touch, whatever my mates were doing, I was joining in. And then once I figured out that I was actually kind of good at things, I was like, I really want to just do sports for my whole life. And then academics wasn't necessarily a strong point, so I went from a mainstream school up north, up in Kaikohe, to a full immersion class in Birkdale Primary Te Pua Waitanga, and I struggled a lot. So I struggled a lot with reading in Māori and English, and so it got right through to pretty much the end of primary school when I struggled a bit. And so then I realised that I'm probably not going to do anything like career-wise in that way, so kind of just was focused on sports. Sports was going to be my outlet, and I knew that I was pretty good at it, just trying to figure out what I was wanting to do. I knew I wanted to represent New Zealand from a really young age, definitely.
But your father's a good reo speak. Paitere o tō matua, o tō papa. Did he speak the reo at home at all, or not really?
No, ka tahi anō kua ako ia. So he's only just learnt throughout his mahi with the Ministry of Education.
Yeah.
When we were growing up, not as much, like he could understand. Him and mum could understand, but not quite kōrero as much. Dad's definitely a bit more matatau now, with all his years through working with the iwi and all the kura that he works with, yeah.
And are you named after the Portia and the Merchant of Venice, or is there another Portia?
Ai, koira te tika. That's the main one. And then there's Dad's best mate. It's a real roundabout story, but Dad's best mate's niece, her name is Portia as well. So it was Mum and Dad really liked that name. So that's where it came from. Merchant of Venice, as well as Dad's friend.
Wow. It was, Portia, the quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesses him that gives and him that takes. Is the mightiest and the mightiest. That's Portia, eh?
Yeah, that's the one.
Love it. Okay, look, I know we've got a cope up that we want to talk about with Kiwi Harvest and HelloFresh. Before I do that, though, I was talking to someone the other day, and I said I was going to be talking to you, and they were really, really ticked off because they felt that was a great honour for me. And I get it, and it is. And they also said Portia Woodman-Wickliffe is the greatest rugby player in New Zealand history. That's what they said. Do you not agree?
No, to be honest, and I don't think it's being humble. I don't think I am the greatest rugby player. I think I came onto the rugby scene at a time for sevens, and the sevens program around the world was very new, and I had really amazing attributes that we're going to show on the field. And I say this because I know there are players in the country that are phenomenal players. Kelly Brazier, Hazel Chubik, like these are players that have been around for a really long time, and I can't handle the idea that I'm portrayed as the best rugby player because in my mind, I was just fortunate to join the series at a really good time of the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this is around 2012, right? And the build-up to the Rio Games in 2016.
Yeah, in 2012, nobody really knew how to play rugby sevens, and we had legends of the Black Ferns, Huriana Manuel, Linda Tunu, Carlo Hoipa, Kelly Brazier. Like, we had these legends in the game of 15s transfer into sevens, and we were always going to be amazing. And then there's myself and Kayla, who are just pure speed and strong, who are just given the ball to run. And I think in my mind, I don't know. In my mind, I was just really fortunate to join the sport at that time.
Was it your parents' advice to you that said just get the ball and run like hell?
Oh yeah, there's some explicits that my dad. So my dad, when he was playing, he said one of his coaches, everyone would be like, you do this, you do this, you do this, and you just get the ball to Kafana. And Kafana, when you get the ball, I want you to get the ball and run like. So we've kind of changed it. So get the ball and run like hell. And so that's what my parents have always told me, is just get the ball and run like hell.
And because I get the speed, but the power bit is the separator. That's the differentiator between you and lots of other sevens players, right? And yes, people will make the comparison with other players. You mentioned many legends of the women's game. People talk about people like Jonah and Christian Cullen. This person that I was talking to, and I won't name them, said you are the perfect mix of someone like, the power of someone like Sarah Hirini with the grace of a Christian Cullen, the dynamism of a Jonah Lumu, and the skills of, someone like a Ruahei Tamont, all in one. That you don't get that, right? That doesn't happen often. That these kind of players come, I don't know, once in a century maybe.
It's a huge honour. That when you put it like that, I guess I can see similarities and I can relate to little bits of that. Yep. But I like that. I'm really quite stumped at that kind of comparison, I think. I just think of myself as just really fast and powerful and don't really compare, I can't accept that it's accumulation of all the different great players around the world.
Did you ever feel like it was a little bit too easy? Because you made it look easy, Portia. When we would watch you, it looked easy. Did it ever feel easy? Or did it feel too easy in parts?
It did, and that's why I struggle with the term of greatest player, because it was so easy. I was having a conversation, I think this was prior to Paris, and a little bit of imposter syndrome came up where people expected, like they thought I would worked really hard to get into this, and I had to do some amazing things. But for me, I just caught the ball and ran really fast, and so I was like, it was easy. Yes, it was easy, and I didn't like to say that because it felt like an insult. But the team was so good at that time. Players that I was playing alongside, I literally just caught the ball and ran. And so for me, I couldn't take credit for being the best player because it was my team that helped me get there. I would literally stand out wide and just wait for the ball to come for me. From Huriana, Linda and Hazel, even Salika, these girls were unbelievable rugby players. And so for me, it was just easy. Yeah.
Was it ever a case sometimes where you could see the fear in opposition players when they looked at you? Because it seemed that way for some of us watching, particularly in sevens. I felt sorry for some of your opposition, I have to say. It looked on some occasions like they were going, "Oh, not again." Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Did you ever? Did that ever happen?
Yeah, there were a few times where players, I'd get on the outside a couple times and they'd be absolutely just distraught, and they were crying on the field because they felt like they couldn't do anything. And that my coach Bunce always said, give them the Portia Woodman experience, because we are so humble, right? We are so humble, and we don't think of ourselves as being the greatest players. But if you give them the experience of what your whole heart experience, then it's not being cocky, it's not going out to hurt them, it's literally just giving them you. And so that was a really cool advice for me, and I needed that, because it was, you get so talked up, and I didn't want to be cocky, and it wasn't a time to be humble, so it was just go out there and give it my absolute all to give them the experience of Portia Woodman, of what they're expecting, because that's the respect that they deserved.
I love that.
So yeah.
I love that phrase. I'll give them the Portia Woodman. This is Alan Bunting you're talking about, right?
Alan Bunting,
yeah. Wow, what a great coach too. We will get off sport, because I know there's lots of other things to talk about, and I can hear doors opening and closing in the background. I suspect that's whānau. Checking in on you, making sure you're not shirking your responsibilities at home. But there's a couple of other things I just wanted to touch on, if it's okay. First of all, it wasn't always smooth sailing. I know it was easy in parts, but there have been times where you found yourself in positions in games where results didn't go your way. What was that like?
Yeah, the biggest one that kind of pops out of my head is definitely Rio.
Yeah.
And I think what we felt in that moment was that we let ourselves down. And then for me personally, with the few mistakes that I made, I felt like I'd let the team down and it was my fault we lost. That was at the time. And now I can reflect back and realize that we were a disconnected team heading into those Olympics. And I've spoken openly about that in the past. And it was from that moment we learnt what it was going to take to be the best team in the world. And that was to be connected, no matter what. If there's crap going on in the team, to sort it out, because that stuff is going to fester and hold us back from being the best that we can be. So from the end of Rio forward, we made a decision to really make sure our culture was the best. And that meant, even from Alan again, he said, if you guys need time to go and hang out rather than come to training. If you need to go and, have a drink or go down to the bar or go have some time just by yourselves and sort your crap out, then go and do it, because I would rather you be connected and on the same page than come to training and be bickering and not connected, what we felt in Rio. So that time in Rio was really hard because, we had worked 4 years. In our mind, we kind of talked a lot about winning gold and we came up short. But for me now, looking at it in this perspective 12 years later or 10 years later, I'm grateful for it, because I can't imagine what I would have felt like going into Tokyo and having won that. There wouldn't have been a fire. There wouldn't have been the feel that we know what we can achieve. So I'm extremely grateful for it. And those times and feeling that moment in Rio, my whānau were my biggest rocks. Like, mum and dad were amazing. My wife was amazing. My friends, Sarah and Kelly, we all kind of barred together and made sure that we were going to make it the best thing we possibly can. And when we came back in Dubai 2016, that's still one of my favorite tours, because it was just freedom and fun and ensuring we just enjoy each other's company.
And the power of that connection, being true and robust and firm and dynamic, that was the turning point, yeah?
That was the turning point for us, yeah.
Was it easier having your wife as a part of the team too? I mean, Renee, in her own right, is an amazing athlete and also a champion. Does that also make it easier? Well, people talk about working with your partner and how difficult that can be sometimes.
Did get hard at sometimes because in the early stages she was contracted, then she got decontracted, but Alan Bunting recontracted her again. And those moments were quite difficult because you're at work and your work colleagues, then you come home and you see each other again. You're trying to figure out the connection, the balance between the two. But then you can't deny the fact that you know what each other are going through. You're both tired. Once Renee had finished with the Sevens program, she knew what I had been through. Each day I'd come home, I'm absolutely buggered. And so she understands that. She understands the travel. She's been a massive supporter, and the reason why I've been able to succeed so much in this game is because of her as well, because she just supports me in everything I can, and she's not there to boost me up, but there to keep me grounded. She puts me in check. She makes sure I understand the perspective that is appropriate at times. So yes, Renee has been a massive contributor to me as a rugby player and me as a person, really.
And I don't want to focus too much on Paris, but obviously it was a massive achievement. But being a mum, Kaya, how was that, I don't know, dealing with that whānau balance? Because it seems to me anyway that the Black Ferns just do that really well. That those mums with kids, they're able to get back into the team, into the squad. And I don't know, it almost like it enhances the performances. Maybe I'm grasping at the wrong words here, but it feels like from the outside, it feels that way anyway.
Yeah, we've learnt a lot. I think Kayla McAllister was one of our first mums to play, go away, have a baby and come back.
Yeah.
And so she helped implement a lot of the scenarios and the properties, or, the things that help mums in our program, both 7s and 15s. And you kind of just understand that these mums, they have a purpose, and their purpose is their babies, but they also have a dream. So to be able to make them both work, you have to work with both of them. And it's been really cool to know, like with Dice Faleafaga, who's got her 2 twin babies, her partner is also in the All Black Sevens team. There's support there for the two of them. And I think we've still got a little bit to go in that area, in the maternity space, but I think it gives the mums a real purpose to be able to come back and be a mum, but also show their babies what's achievable if you put your mind to it. Like, it's not easy being a mum and being a parent, because you go to work, you have your work time, then you come home, you still got to be a mum. There's no switching off. There's no time to just sit out and relax. It's getting into parent mode. And so it makes it really important to portray to our babies, to my daughter, in fact, what you can achieve if you put your mind to it. She loves rugby. She's 12, my daughter. She's passionate about rugby, but doesn't want to listen to us. We don't know anything, apparently, to her, and she thinks she knows everything. So she looks up to Caitlin Wahakolo and Aisha Letienga and Michaela Blyde and Georgia Miller. So she looks up to all these players, and we don't know anything. So it's just trying to get her to understand probably work ethic is the biggest thing.
Hard to know where she got that from, actually. Hard to know. You're listening to Māpuna on RNZ National. We're talking to, I think one of New Zealand's greatest athletes in history. And personally, New Zealand's greatest ever rugby player, Portia Woodman-Wickliffe. And just moving on, I mean, you talked about the necessity to teach and to show and to be an exemplar for our young tamariki, for our rangatahi Māori. That World Cup in 2022 was amazing. I took my daughter. She'll hate the fact that I've mentioned her now on air, but she's 13, she's used to it. She's about the same age as Kaya. But that was an amazing event. Just being part of it as a participant, right, as a member of the public and watching it. But it must have been amazing as a part of the squad, being there and packed houses everywhere you went, packed stadiums for every game. It must have been a trip.
Oh, it was. From that very first game against Australia, the walking out and hearing the crowd, feeling the crowd, seeing the poi, doing our haka. Like, I was really fortunate that I got to do the part of our pau, part of our karanga at the start. It was phenomenal. The best experience of my life, really, to be able to perform that in front of home crowd at Eden Park, to a packed out stadium like that, and to see the different demographic audience, the people that are in the fan zones, was unbelievable. You've got your nannies, you've got your dads, you've got your children, you've got mums and dads all there supporting us. And for women's rugby, we'd never experienced that before. And so, yes, every tournament, every game we went to, from Waitakere to Whangarei back to Eden Park, was phenomenal. And then to go to Okara Stadium, that's how I know it, Okara Stadium,
yes, Okara Park.
Okara Park. That's how I know it. That's what the stories have always told me, is Okara Park. Going back there and seeing the embankment filled out. My whānau had their big tie my flag going. Like, it was unreal to walk out there and know that my dad had played, all my whānau had played in that Cambridge blue jersey. Like, that was, dream come true, that moment. Unbelievable tournament.
Now, I want to talk a little bit more about off the field, if that's okay. And I know now you've joined a different team, the local charity Kiwi Harvest and HelloFresh. What's this about? What's drawn you to the issue of food waste?
The last year I was fortunate enough to be a part of this Kiwi Harvest HelloFresh campaign to reduce food waste, and I'm really grateful to be a part of it again, because we've seen a big reduction in it, $300 million in reduction in food waste. So to be a part of it, I'm passionate about it, because for us growing up, it was ungrateful to waste food. It was a waste of money. So for me, it's like bringing that back into values for people in homes, all our whānau out there. And it's hard times at the moment, to be able to afford food. And if you're just going to throw it away, you might as well just throw your money away. But for me, to be a part of this kaupapa, it's bringing to light what we can do, each household, and the impact that each household can have on such a bigger program. 300 million is a big deal. And to know we only did that in 1 year, where we can go from here. So I'm grateful to be a part of this kaupapa and jumped at it to be on it last year. So excited to continue it this year.
And as uninitiated as I am in the kaupapa, it's my understanding, right, that it's rangatahi. I think rangatahi 18 to 29, eh? I think that's still, well, it feels rangatahi to me because, I'm born in but that's the age where the highest rate of food waste is, right? So do you see you having a specific role in talking to that demographic in particular, where there is such a high rate of food wastage?
Yes, definitely. And I think because everything is so accessible, we have our phone connected to the internet. Everything is so accessible, but to know that there is a consequence to to all these quick options, right? There's the money waste, there's money running out of, there's food in the fridge. When your parents always told you, we've got food in the fridge, you can eat. So it's being able to explain to our rangatahi, our kids who are potentially finding themselves with a bit of putia, to understand what's the best option, how we can best plan our options, dietary requirements. One of my first options on HelloFresh was flexitarian, and was probably my favorite kai. So there's options out there to help us save money, be amazing, and protect Papa Tuanuku in our environment. So I'm honoured to be able to represent and portray to our young rangatahi that there are options out there and how we can best make the most of our money and use our food that's available.
I hear lots more people younger than me nowadays. I mean, when I was that age, no one was talking about mahi taiao that much, tiaki Papa Tuanuku, that kind of thing. Yeah. Lots of people your age, and I say your age because you're a lot younger than I am. But that's the kaupapa. There's a lot more of that awareness and attention, and a lot more dialogue, I think, not in formal situations and informal situations, where this is the kaupapa kōrero. Is that the case? Do you see and hear a lot of that now?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, like I said, everything's accessible on your phone. You can search up what the rate of climatization is going on, and you want to be able to give it, make an impact on stopping that. And you're thinking about our babies. Like, my daughter is 12. What are the values that I'm instilling in her? How do we tiakina te taiao te our Papa Tuanuku? How do we continue that for her, and then our Māpuna as well, leaving them a place that's thriving and beautiful rather than a wasteland? So it's definitely conversations that are happening more regularly. You sit down at a coffee table and you end up talking about it quite easily. Like I said, it's all accessible on your phone, in your palm of your hand, being able to research and understand. And even on social media, it's a big talking point.
Yeah.
From politics to influencers talking about it, to influencers talking about the best way to save our taiao. So companies like HelloFresh are very active in the community like that. So yes, absolutely. Informal conversation just happened naturally.
Have you? Lots of people also doing mahi mara, maramataka, all that kind of stuff. I'm lucky I hang out with kind of a couple of people who are pretty good at it. Are you and Renee and the whānau, are you doing your own mahi mara stuff as well, or looking to do it? I know we're going to get to Japan soon, but is that something that you're interested in particularly?
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually heading up north next week to go and start our mara up north on the farm. So,
ka whai.
Yeah, I really want to learn from our my aunties and uncles, and from the seed all the way up to to eating it and preparing it and preserving all the kai. So yes, I'm very interested in it. Obviously, the lifestyle hasn't allowed for me to do that, being away most times of the year. So looking forward from after Japan, potentially getting back into our garden or making some kind of garden in our little property here in Tauranga. But yes, mahi mara is definitely on my radar.
Did I get that right? You are going to Japan soon?
Hei te mutunga o Okitopa.
Yeah.
On the 31st of October we're leaving, I think.
Yep. What's inspired you to make the move?
Well, leading up to Tokyo, we went to Japan about 3 or 4 times once a year, and I loved it. We spent most of our time in Kitakyushu in the south of Japan, and I loved it. The people, the culture, the kai is always amazing. And so I come back and I always rave to Renee about how amazing Japan is. I really want to take you there. And I talked to our agent, and I just said, look, if we have an opportunity to go to Japan, even just for a short stint, I'd love to take Renee and Kai over there just to experience it. The people, the rugby, they really get in and support their rugby and their female rugby players. So yeah, it was just an opportunity to go over there, take my whānau for a short stint, nothing too serious, and experience a culture that we will probably never get to experience before or again.
How long are you going for again, Portia?
3 months. Ka
Wow.
hoki mai, so February. The start of February.
Well, you're going to miss a lot of mara work. You know that, eh? Hohake is this.
Yes, I know. Hopefully I'm there for the start. So I'll be digging those trenches and I'll be flipping the soil. So hopefully we can start there.
You'll be one of those cousins we talk about. You know that, eh?
Yeah, those ones that turn up when
gone to Japan. How convenient.
how
Back in
convenient.
February. Oh, how convenient.
Yeah, exactly. I'm those ones.
No, fair enough. Hey, I've got to raise this because you may not know this, but I support a franchise that might or might not be balanced and based in Wellington, called the Hurricanes. Why didn't you come to the Hurricanes?
Why didn't I?
Yeah, we needed you.
It's very far.
This feels awkward now, eh?
No, I want to play somewhere close to home.
No, fair enough.
Having spent so much time away from Renee and Kaya and my whānau, I want to be as close as I can to them.
Yeah.
But who knows? It's always an option. I'd love to get down there for maybe a little stint at some stage. We'll see.
Look, it's fine. It just hurt me. I took it personally,
Oh, I'm sorry, Julian.
No, it's all good. Hey, given your contribution, right, not just to the game, but to sport, how do you feel we treat our legends of the game as a country? Because we're very quick. Well, look what I've done in this interview. I mentioned Ngāpu, you whakapapa, I don't know how many times. We're very quick to put people up on high, and then very quick to drag them down, particularly after they have worked so hard in their professional sports careers. How do you think we as a country value, or not actually, those who have contributed so much to us throughout their sporting career?
I think when we start to pull the people down, it's a lack of understanding of who they are, right, and their story and the life that they've had. So when you get to understand someone and get to know them, or people feel like when I walk up to people, or when we're walking through the street, people hug me because they think they know me so well. And I think it's because it comes down to the way I've allowed people into my life through interview, through my social media, people understanding who I am as a person. And I think if we to understand get the stories of all our legends and figure out who they are as a person and where they come from and what's relatable to them or what people can relate to them about. That's when you'll lift them up rather than you'll pull them down. And I think if we get, like I said, just get to know people on a really personal level, what is important to them and what makes them tick, that's when you start to support them and understand them and realize why they are the way they are. If you know whose nanny is who and whose auntie is connected to who, you're going to know that, that's why they're so staunch in this world. Or, you just understand who they are as a person. So realizing all of that is really important, I think.
Do people really come up and hug you, eh?
Yeah. I'll get a big old kiss and smoochy lips on my cheek, and I'm just like, oh, kia ora, thank you. My daughter goes, who's that? I was like, I don't know, darling.
No idea. No one ever does that for me. I might get Mātai.
No.
But is that not? I mean, is that nice? I mean, I guess you can't. You've got no choice, right? When people want to do that and show affection to you, because you mean so much to them, eh? Do you get used to it, or is it? Do you feel awkward about it at times?
At the start, I'd be awkward about it and be like, how did they know it was me? I'm in mufti. I'm not even in the rugby. I'm not even in training kit. For me, I couldn't understand how people would even recognise me. But now I know that, like you say, there's been a big impact. I've given a lot to women's sports and our young girls and young athletes. So to be able to be that person that they can come and hug, I love that. I love it when they do come and hug me because it shows that they're not scared of me. There's no big hierarchy or anything like that. And most of the time it's the parents, and they go, oh, can I get a photo for you with my daughter? Or my daughter? And I'm like, look, it's okay if it's for you. You don't have to say it's for you. It's for you. It's specified. So I love it. And going to the supermarket is always fun. You meet the checkout ladies or some fun in the supermarket that stare you down. They're looking at you going, oh, you're Portia Woodman. And I'm like, yeah, kia ora. Like, oh, I just want to shake your hands and things like that. It's an absolute honour to be able to do that, because in the past, when I was 10, I didn't have many role models to look up to. I had Maria Tutia, Timapara George, Laura Langman, like those were my idols, and then there were the All Blacks. So for me, for me to be that inspiration for our young girls, and there's so many of us, it's an honour, absolute honour. So yeah, grateful. It does get a little bit awkward when they come and give you a big old kiss without really introducing themselves first, but hey, that's just the way it goes.
So given all that you've given to the game, are you confident that women's rugby in Aotearoa will continue to grow?
I'm confident if we can sort out a few of the higher up roles, within World Rugby, once they figure out the best path and best way to continue with women's rugby. I know Sevens is having to figure things out, and with the Olympics, that is our biggest thing for our Sevens. So as long as that can continue, there is always going to be a pathway, and it'll be an amazing career for women's rugby players. And then in terms of internally, as long as we are supported from the higher ups, it'll be amazing. So for my daughter, say in 5 or 6 years' time, she's knocking on the door of Black Ferns, whichever 7s or 15s, those opportunities will be better than what we had. So I'm really looking forward to that, as long as the support continues from higher up.
You're talking about the NZRU specifically here, right?
Yeah, NZRU, World Rugby, anyone that's there to support women's rugby and women's sport, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for taking time. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for just, giving time. And I know that people, particularly after Paris, winning in Paris again, will have tried to bombard you with media requests. So thank you so much for just sharing time with us. I know you downplayed your musical capability, and I'm not going to put you on the spot and say let's sing a song together, because hello, I'll lead you astray, no doubt. But is there what is your favourite song, by the way?
Māori Ki Te Ao by Stan Walker.
Ah, okay. Is that tauranga connection thing, is it?
I think so, and we play at every tournament we go to, and all the girls hear me belting it out at the back of the line, singing with the speaker, absolute out of key, tone deaf as belting it out, and I love it. That's my favourite song at the moment.
thank you again for talking to us. Please pass on our regards to the rest of your whānau, to your mum and dad, to Renee, to Kaya, because they've allowed you to be who you are and to show the world your prowess, your skills, your talents. And I think sometimes we forget the cost that has on whānau when someone is considered to be, by the rest of the community, by the world as one of theirs. We sometimes forget the impact that has on whānau. So please pass on our regards to the rest of your whānau. Say hi to your brother for me, from my boy to Mummy. He'll remember. He put him on the wing for some reason. I don't know. He didn't have your skill or speed or panache, but he put him on the wing. I think he felt like we just got to get him on there in some way, shape or form. But please pass on my best to your brother. And just one final question, if it's okay with you. There will come a time, I'm sure, where you'll feel much more comfortable about the way in which people like me talk about you. And I know that you find it a little bit uncomfortable at the moment when we say, people like me say that we think you're the greatest rugby player New Zealand has ever had. But what's it like to sit on the same potential level as someone like a Jonah Lomu that the world sees as one of those 1 in every 100-year talents?
That makes it makes me sweaty and nervous and absolutely grateful that people perceive us as similar. That he was my idol, looking up to him growing up. It was my dad because of the inspiration, but Jonah Lomu with his prowess and his mannerisms on the field, just an absolute beast, but a gentle giant off the field. And to be compared to him, it makes my heart happy.
Portia, all the very best. We wish you all the very best in everything you're doing. Thank you also for the kaupapa around Kiwi Harvest and HelloFresh and food wastage, because you've raised a couple of things that I think we need to think about. And we just wish you all the very best for whatever you're doing and the trip to Japan. And when you come back, let us know. I'll get you to Pirikotaha with Matua Rereata and his mara just outside of Waimar. A bit of training, Bit of training, Might help with the whānau mara at Taheke Road.
Yeah, totally. Yore tēnei. No, he mihi nui kia koe, Julian. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honour having a kōrero with you. It's always been beautiful listening to you in our world growing up. So massive, massive thank you for having me today.
Kia ora maita. Tēnā koe. That was Portia Woodman-Wickliffe. As I said, one of the, if not the greatest rugby players in New Zealand rugby history. And that is Māpuna for this week. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the feedback. You always have to pinch yourself, sometimes. Am I going on too long? Yeah, probably. But you have to pinch yourself sometimes, when you talk to people who are your kind of heroes. That's the privilege and the perk of the job. And it's been wonderful to talk with her, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed having a chat with Portia Woodman-Wickliffe. E te iwi e ki ana te kōrero, ko te toka i a ki hā he toka whitianga rā, ko te toka i Māpuna, ko tāu e ki te ai ko te ripokau. Ti hewa mauri ora, kia tātou katoa.